And so next up, speaking of, suitable placement by Al Sasser.
When I was a kid, you know what I did? I stole things, all kind of things, like cookies and candy. I stopped going to school, and then they latched on to me, this truant officer. My block was the hottest block. Everybody would come on my street and hang out. Older boys, younger guys. But me and my friend Danny, we were the tightest. We called Danny Frog because he had like pyramid shapes under his nose. So me and Danny got together one day and said, well, what are we gonna do for Christmas? So we decided we were gonna go to Griffith Park. We're gonna go up to the Hollywood, go to Griffith Park, and we didn't care nothing about the observatory because we was gonna take our own way of seeing the stars. We was planning to find us this place somewhere behind the bush and smoke our weed. So when the other guys got wind of it, they decided we all going. So like 15 of us get together and we go jump on the RTD bus and ride up to Hollywood to the observatory. We go up this steep trail and everybody's splitting and going in different directions to find just that one spot where we can smoke some weed. Me and Daddy, we walked down and nowhere could we find just a spot without somebody walking by us. So we said, man, let's just go home. We can go back to the block and find somewhere to smoke weed there. And somehow we all ended up back together, even though we went on different trails. And one of the guys who was a little older than me and Danny, I think I was 12, Danny was probably 13, but this guy was maybe like 16 or 17. He said, hey man, look at them white boys over there. Them motherfuckers got brand new bikes, $100 bikes. You know, because where we lived at, we used to take a saw the forks off an old bike, slide them on another bike, and create a chopper. You know, put the clothespin back by the forks with one playing card to hit the rims, and then you got your chopper and you just. But Snort said he had enough of that shit. He spotted a chrome bike and it looked really nice. He said, that is a $100 bike. I'm gonna take this motherfucking bike. So Snork and 2 or 3 other guys, they rush these little boys and they take their bikes and they're just having a ball riding up and down the hill, up and down the hill. I look at Danny, Danny look at me, he said, man, let's go home. We didn't want no part of that. So we started walking down the hill to get back to the bus. We all jumped on the bus. It was probably, our numbers had got reduced because the guys with the bike, they took off. And there was probably like 8 or 9 of us left. So we jump on the bus and the bus driver says, I don't know why you kids jumping on the bus putting your money in the machine because you're gonna get right back off. I look at Danny again like, what is he talking about? So we walk to the back of the bus, have a seat, and next thing I know, a police officer gets on the bus. He said, everybody off this bus. And he shoo us all off the bus. We're stashing the weed under the seat, on the side of the seat, kicking it up under the seat. Some people had little small portions, but me and Danny, we had what they call the half ounces and the ounces with the sandwich bag, where 2 fingers meant that was a half ounce and 3 meant that it was an ounce. So we didn't really want to give it up, but when we seen the police come, I seen Danny snatch his on the side of the seat, and I just kicked mine as far as I could to the front. They made us get all off the bus and put us against the wall of a supermarket. The officer walked back and forth. He said, do you know what them guys in the jail will do to you little boys? They'll tear your butts up. So he grabbed all the weed that he could find on the bus, the officer, and he stuffed them all in Danny's pocket. And Danny's right next to me. He looked at me and he started crying. He just started crying. They take us to jail and they separate us. And they tell us, we're going to call your parents to come pick you up. But it took the longest time for somebody to come pick me up. And my stepmom comes, he picks me up, and she said, "You all right, son?" I said, "Yeah, they put us against the wall and they was patting on us and searching us. And I ain't got much, but he got to it. He tapped it." And she said, "Just come on, let's get out of here." She said, "I won't tell your dad unless he asks me about it. I'm about to tell him the truth." Next thing I know, we all had court dates. We piled in this courtroom. They had attorneys, and I had this truant officer. The judge asked the boys to get up and each one of them to the stand. Now point out the little boy or point out the boys who took your bike. And the first little boy got up and pointed. And I said, "Is he pointing at me?" I wanted to look back, but I was too nervous. He said, "Describe what he's wearing." And he described the clothes I had on. And I wanted to look to the side to see Danny or any of the other boys, hoping and praying and wishing and thinking maybe one of them raised their hand and said, "Your Honor, no, that wasn't him, it was me." But I knew that wasn't going to happen. And then they have another boy get up on the stand, and this guy is big. To me, he's built like an adult. But he could have been 16, but he's built a big kid. And he gets on the stand and he say, "Okay, point out the kid that took your bike." And this time I look back because I know he has got this wrong. He said, "Describe what he's wearing." And he described what I had on. And in that moment, I'm thinking like, why are they lying on me? So as time go by, the judge started dismissing cases and releasing boys. And then I was left in the courtroom with this not the parole, but this truant officer. And the judge said, "Well, we're not going to hold him. We're dropping the charges, so he's going to be released into your custody." Your Honor, I'm requesting that you detain the ward pending suitable placement. No, there's no need. He's already linked up with you. Maybe you could come together and figure out a way to help him. But you don't understand, Your Honor. He's not going to school. His mom can't control him. And he's in a gang. He's in a gang. Okay, we'll detain him pending suitable placement. They take me and put me in this room, give me a sandwich and something to drink, but I don't have an appetite. All I want to do is reach out and call my mom or anybody, somebody, to let them know where I'm at. They take me to juvenile hall, put me in this room, and the room was about this big, but as both of my foot stepped in, it shrunk. The sides and then the top down. And I laid on the bed in the infant position and I cried. I even took time out to bargain with God. Look, God, look. If you let me out of this time, I swear I won't do it no more. I mean, I'll listen to my mama. I'll go to school. I'll do everything right. And if I mess up, just give it all to me. I was there about a week, and I was about dead. I couldn't stand it no more. That room had me just closed up. Nobody reached out to me. I wasn't sure whether my parents knew where I were or not. And so a counselor come to my door and he said, come on now, I gotta take you over here for a physical. And he takes me to this medical thing. And all the time we're walking, he has to stop and open a gate. So he stops, open the gates, lets me walk through, turns his back to me, lock the gate, and then continue to escort me to medical. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna escape. As soon as I get a chance, I'm gonna escape. I'm not staying here. So the next time he came to escort me, on the way back, that's what I planned. He opened that first gate, let me through, turned his back to me, locked that gate, and I took off. And I ran, and the only problem I thought I would have is getting to the top and getting my fingers on something because of that mesh kind of fence at the top. And I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I was going closer to that gate and closer to that gate. And I hear his keys jingling, like as if he's running after me, but I don't turn around and look because I know it's going to slow me down. And then way over across, I don't know how far from it, you know how when you look at a mountain it seems close but it's farther away? This is a black woman in like a factory. She said, come on, baby, come on, keep running, just come on. And I want to go to her, but then I think, she want to catch me. She want to catch me, turn me in, and get some kind of reward. So I stopped, and when I hesitated, boom. He took me down, handcuffed me, and took me back to what they call a box, which is just another room where I'm isolated. And I'm sitting in this room thinking like, what did I do to deserve this? I didn't take any of the bikes. I didn't hurt any of the boys. But then again, I was here. The counselor comes to me and he says, you no longer have the same truant officer anymore. You've been assigned a probation officer named Miss DeCare. And she'll be up to see you maybe in a week or two. I'm thinking, 2 weeks? I can't take this for 2 weeks. So she came up in a week. And she said, you know, you trying to AWOL from here is not a good thing. You're just hurting yourself. And I said, well, I'm not staying here. And if you leave me here, I'm going to do it again. She said, no, you just have to stay put and I'll come back and get you maybe in a week, 2 weeks max. I said, no, I can't do 2 weeks. I'm telling you, if you leave me here, I'm running again. So she was nice enough to come and get me the following week. She said, we're going to transport you to a boys' home, which they call a suitable placement. It's called Rosselli's Boys Ranch, and you'll be there for a while, maybe 4 or 5 months. And I said, well, where is it? Somebody got to tell my mom. She said, it's in Little Rock. I said, Little Rock, Arkansas? She said, no, Little Rock, California. She said, you never heard of Palmdale and Lancaster? I said, no, only time I know Little Rock is Little Rock, Arkansas, because that's where my dad them from. She said, it'll be all right. I'm going to introduce you to Charlie. Charlie is another one of my boys that's up there. And I got a little jealous because she was talking so much about Charlie. I wanted her to like me. So we jumped on the road in her little, whatever that car, truck with the camper shield, and she was just this nice, pleasant woman. And we drove first until we seen no more cities, no more of the buildings, no structures like that. And everything went straight to desert, mountain, and tumbleweed. And I felt like I was out of the country. I didn't know where I was, but I had never been away from my mom or away from my home in my life. And he dropped me off at this place. She said, I'll be back. I'm going to talk to Charlie. I'm going to introduce you to, but you go in and meet the house parents. So I go into the house, and there's this couple, and they had 2 young daughters. We get introduced, and he tells me, you know, here you're allowed to smoke, but you have to be 13. And I was 12. And I couldn't get that because I'm thinking like, well, if he'd have said 18 or 21, I'd get that. But you gotta be 13 to smoke? So I immediately go outside and meet the other boys that were in the house, and there was this one guy, we called him Asthma. He had asthma real bad, but he would chain smoke them cigarettes. I said, hey man, can I get one of those cigarettes? He said, oh, you the new boy, huh? I said, yeah. He said, how old are you? And I didn't say anything. He said, I'm gonna give you the cigarette, but don't tell nobody. I said, man, I ain't in here for doing no telling. So he gave me a cigarette. I said, can I get a light? He said, what you want me to do, smoking for you too? Get me a light, and I smoked that cigarette. I just remember being a little dizzy, like I was high. You know, felt that first rush, that buzz, and I felt kind of calm for a moment. It's time to go to bed. I go jump in my bed and just try to figure out how to cope with this situation. How do a person get sentenced or sent away for doing nothing? And I lay in the bed. Al, come to the kitchen. The house parent called me. It's like 10, 11 o'clock. So I go to the kitchen, and he's sitting at the table, a large wooden table. The wife is on the other side with the 2 little girls, and he tells me to sit in this chair, and it's a bucket in front of me. And I'm like, well, what is the bucket for? So I sit down, and he starts to open up these bags of Red Man chewing tobacco. He takes a big chunk of it and he rolls it up like he's rolling a biscuit or something. And he sits it down, takes another one, rolls it to a ball, bigger than a golf ball, but not as huge as a tennis ball. And he said, take that one and chew it. Chew it. Now, I've never tasted it before, but I have my great-grandma. She used to dip that snuff and spit it in that big old can and then send me out there when they was full to tell me to dump it. So I grabbed it. What else am I gonna do? Put it in my mouth and chew. In a matter of seconds, my mouth swelled up like a chipmunk with nuts in his mouth. And then he said, now swallow it. So I swallowed it. I felt it going down my throat, burning in my chest. And then he passed me another one. He said, now chew that one. So I chewed it. Same thing, mouth swells up. Swallow it. I swallow it. This time I puked. I said, oh, this is what he wanted to do. That's what the bucket is for. So he said, now go in the bathroom, wash your face, go to bed. I go in the bathroom, wash my face, go sit on the edge of my bed, and then Charlie pops up. Now the thing about Charlie, he's a little Chicano, my height, was smaller than me in stature, and he was a tough kid, you know? He was a tough kid. I knew it when I first met him, and something told me, me and Charlie, we're gonna have to get down. Before this is over, me and him, we're gonna have to get down. But he walked up to me and he tapped me on the side of my leg, and when I looked down, he was handing me like the end of a spoon or a fork with the fork or the spoon part tore off and sharpened to a point. And I looked down, he said, here, you want it? I was like, no, I don't want it. He said, if you want, I'll go with you. You want to get them? I'll go with you and get them. I was like, no, Charlie. But I felt like he had my back. I felt like he was my friend. You know, this tough kid like me, I'm a tough kid, he's a tough kid, but he's a little bit advanced me pulling out weapons. And so I was like, okay, at least I got somebody who has my back. So we sat down that night and we plotted how to escape. And Charlie said, well, we can just go at night. I said, no, we can't go at night, Charlie, because you couldn't see your hand in front of your face at night. There was no street lights or nothing like that. I said, we got to go in the daytime. And so we were plotting like based on drawing all the stuff from the TV, like we got to pack a lunch, you know what I'm saying? We got to get something to eat because we don't know how long we're going to be on the road, you know, and stuff like that. And the next morning came and they said, Al, come to the front. I said, yeah. They said, we're moving you to another house. So they moved me to another house. And the next time, I hadn't seen Charlie again in like 25 years. And when I saw him, I was in the LA County Jail, and I was walking the hallway and I heard somebody say, Al, Al. I looked up to the second tier and it was Charlie. I said, hey, Charlie, wait a minute, I'm coming up there. He said, no, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And that was the last time I seen Charlie.
Yeah.